Hey guys, what's up? Zags here. Welcome back to another video. And in this one, we're going to be bringing back an old series to the channel, and that's F1 Rejects. And this is part 6. So, a lot of people asked me to bring this back, so I thought, might as well, even though it got a bit of criticism here and there, because obviously the title is a little bit harsh, but it's, I guess, the best way of describing people that don't make it in Formula 1 and only do a couple of seasons, or maybe not even that. So, in today's video, we're going to be looking at 4 more drivers, and we're starting off by the French driver, Charles Pic. Now, if you're a fan of Formula 1 over the last couple of years, you probably would have heard that name unless you're very new to the sport, but looking back into the early part of his career, he had some pretty strong performances, to be fair, in the junior categories. He finished top 3 in Formula Renault 2.0, and then again, in Formula Renault 3.5, he managed to get a top 3 with 3rd place in that championship as well. But then his switch to GP2 wasn't quite as smooth as it was for some. He did struggle at first, but in 2011 he finished 4th place in the standings and finished ahead of quite a few future Formula 1 drivers: Guido van der Garde, Marcus Ericsson, Brendan Hartley, Chilton and Palmer, plus many other very talented drivers he beat in that championship in the 2011 season. He went on then to race for Marussia in 2012, scoring no points, and Caterham in 2013, once again scoring no points. And since then, he has been a Lotus test driver and raced multiple times in the Formula E Championship in the 14/15 season. He scored some points, but not enough to secure a drive for the next season. Now, I tried to do my research about what Charles Pic is actually doing right now, and not much really comes up, which is quite sad, because he was a guy that I really liked, actually. He had a really nice attitude towards Formula 1, but understandably, those back teams couldn't really deliver a car that was worthy of any sort of points, and unfortunately no driver really out of those back teams really managed to make it. I guess you could say maybe Daniel Ricciardo, I guess, as an example. He raced for HRT for half a season, but he was always going to get the Toro drive for the next season, and obviously we'd have probably seen a lot more from Jules Bianchi if he didn't have that very sad accident. So unfortunately, the back-end teams didn't really produce many drivers that managed to get right to the top, but they did give a couple of opportunities to drivers that were decent enough to get to Formula 1 and with a bit of budget behind them. But Charles Pic, I think, currently works on French television on doing some sort of thing about Formula 1. I'm not exactly sure, it's very hard. He doesn't really post that much on social media anymore. It's kind of hard to gauge exactly what he does in his life, but you know, he's probably done what he thinks is a decent sort of motorsport career, I should say, not decent Formula 1 career. I think he would have loved some more years in Formula 1, but yeah, I guess that's just the way Formula 1 goes, unfortunately, especially with the reduction of teams over the last couple of years. I mean, we had, did we have 26 teams? Sorry, 26 cars? Was it 24 cars at some point? So we had quite a lot of cars, and obviously that's at least 4 of those dropped into the 2018 grid, where we've only got 20. So yeah, let me know what you think. Do you think Charles Pic deserved to have more time in Formula 1? Let me know in the comment section down below. So the next person on this list was requested quite a lot over the past episodes when I went back and had a look through them in the comment section, and it was quite interesting to see, actually. But yes, it's Scott Speed. So he actually had quite a lot of success in his homeland in the very early parts of his career. He won a championship called the US Formula Russell. Not really sure what that is, but then he also finished 3rd in the Formula Dodge National Championship, but then didn't have quite as much success in Star Mazda, but didn't do the whole season by the looks of it. He did 4 races and 2 poles, 1 win, so not too bad. But then he came to England in 2003 and had a bit of a shocking season in British Formula 3. He finished 23rd in the standings with 3 points. But then in 2004, he sort of jumped back a category and went to slower cars in Formula Renault 2000 in the Euro Cup and Germany, winning both of those championships. And the next season, in 2005, he was actually the Red Bull test driver, which is kind of crazy. And that same season, he finished 3rd place in the GP2 series. So he went from Formula Renault 2000 all the way to GP2. So that's quite a big step there. You normally go through Formula 3 through there, or GP3 through there, and or maybe even Formula Renault 3.5 back in the day. You could have gone through those avenues to get through that categories to get to GP2, but a big jump there from Formula Renault 2000 all the way to GP2, but he had good success in GP2 in that season. He also did a couple of A1GP, A1GP races. Yeah, it was A1GP, wasn't it, for Team USA? He scored 23 points for them, but nothing really of note. But in 2006, he got his chance with Toro Rosso, and he did 18 races for them and didn't secure a single point. And after his success in GP2, you'd have thought maybe there might have been a possibility, but Toro Rosso was definitely a back-end car in 2006. But that poor form did continue on into 2007, and he still didn't score any points for them. And he actually got booted out halfway through the season in 2007 for the incoming Sebastian Vettel. So in 2007, he scored 0 points in his 10 races, and unfortunately for him, that was his last time in Formula 1. And since then, he's raced in a multiple amount of series and actually has gained a bit of credibility back. So most notably in 2008, he was racing in the ARCA Remax series. He was battling for the championship in that, and that's NASCAR, or a version of NASCAR if you're unaware. And he did pretty good in that. He was battling for the championship, but then got, I think, black flagged in the last race of the season after taking someone out. So that was his championship hopes over. He also did a good job in the Craftman Truck Series that season as well. He had 14 races and got a win, which is pretty impressive, and in 5 Sprint Cup races. But then came a couple of poor years in the NASCAR Sprint Cup and Nationwide Series. Not much success followed from 2008 all the way to 2012 and even 2013. He really did struggle with no notable results really, except from that one pole position and that one win we were talking about in 2008 in the Truck Series. So we skip forward to the end of 2013 and changes coming for Scott Speed. He decides to sort of ditch NASCAR and go for the Rallycross route. So in the Global Rallycross Championship in 2013, he finished 5th. In 2014, that was 3rd, and then bit of an experience in Formula E. He had a couple of decent results, I think, in there as well. But then came his Global Rallycross results of the sort of the championship that really sort of stood out. He was the champion in 2015, 2016 and 2017, so a 3-time champion in that, and then he's also won the American Rallycross Championship, which has kind of replaced it in 2018. So Scott Speed, okay, he might not have had the greatest Formula 1 career, but he's definitely rebuilt himself since, and I think he's definitely proven to a lot of people that he is a very credible athlete now. He's not someone that could be laughed at, which I think maybe was the case in Formula 1, because obviously until Alexander Rossi, I think he was the last American driver in the sport. So I think a couple of people did sort of laugh at him a little bit because he didn't really quite have the pace, and obviously his name as well, because you know, he should have been a bit quicker if he had that name. That was sort of the joke. But overall, a very talented driver, Scott Speed. I think understandably he was kicked out of the Red Bull program. But I think he's found his niche now. He's found his niche in the Global Rallycross Championship, and he's continuing on in 2019. He's switching up. He's won the last 4 championships with Volkswagen, but I think he's switching over to a Subaru in 2019, so let's see how he fares. But if you haven't watched the Global Rallycross Championship, by the way, I'd definitely say, check it out. That and Rallycross, both really interesting sports. Rallycross and the World Rallycross Championship, I should say. They're both really interesting sports, so give it a watch if you haven't already. But anyway, that's enough about Scott Speed. I've rambled on long enough. Let's get on to Andrea Haryana. So this guy comes up a couple of times on different videos I make. He also comes up in like the F1 Worst Driver series. A lot of people comment his name as well. I think that's a little bit harsh. He didn't really have much time in Formula 1, but I understand why people say that, but it's not my personal opinion. So let's speak about Andrea Haryana. Let's look at his early career in motorsport, and like with a lot of people in this series, it didn't start off too badly. In the Formula Asia Championship in 2008, he finished 3rd place in that one, winning 1 race and got 7 podiums overall. He switched up in 2009, and most notably, he won the Formula BMW Pacific Series in that year. He won 11 of the 15 races there, and that was quite a decent championship win there for him. He also did other races, other Formula BMW races, and a couple of other ones around the world. He got a couple of podiums, but nothing really much of note. But he won the Pacific Series, which is obviously great for him. He made the switch to GP3, the newly made GP3 series, in 2010, and straight away finished 5th place in the championship. So when a championship comes into its first ever year, it's always interesting to see who does well there, because obviously there's some talent there. You can learn the car and learn how to sort of not like cheat, but manipulate the car. It's the best way to drive it. He obviously did a really good job at that. He won 1 race and finished on the podium 3 times and got 27 points in that season. I think, was that with the old point system or a lot less races? 27 points out of 16 races isn't still great, but whatever. Then into 2011, he continued on in the series, but he actually did a bit worse, unfortunately for him. He got an extra win, he got 2 wins and 4 podiums, but he got 31 points, which is all an improvement, but he actually only finished 7th place in the championship overall, so maybe just not quite as consistent as the rest of them, so a bit of an up and down season for him in 2011. He also did the AutoGP championship that year as well. He won 1 race in that, 3 podiums, and finished 7th place in that as well, and also did a couple of races in the GP2 finale series and didn't score any points in that. But then into 2012, he finally started up in GP2, the feeder series to Formula 1. So in 2012 all the way to 2015, he raced in Formula 2 technically, but GP2 is what it was called back then. So he finished on the podium a couple of times. He finished on the podium in 2013, 2014, and 5 times in 2015, en route to his best result in the series, which was 4th place overall in 2015. Where he got 5 wins that season, and that's not too bad. I mean, I think that's warranted of maybe a step up to Formula 1, but if you're in your 4th season of GP2, I think there's definitely questions to be had. I mean, if you look at who he was beaten by, Van Dorn, he won the championship. He was nearly twice as many points ahead of Rossi in 2nd place. So Van Dorn won the 2015 GP2 championship with 341.5 points, and Rossi was 2nd with 181.5 points. So it was quite a big gap between 1st and 2nd. Van Dorn dominated that season, but Haryana did beat some notable drivers like Mitch Evans, Alex Lynn, Raffaele Marcello, future F1 driver Pierre Gasly, and a few other notable drivers down the list. Also, he did beat that season as well. But unfortunately for Haryana, he had 12 races in Formula 1, never really managed to impress in any of those. His best result in Formula 1 was 15th in the Monaco Grand Prix, but after the German Grand Prix, his time in Formula 1 was up. Esteban Ocon took his seat, and Haryana hasn't appeared in any sort of drive since. Now, I'm not really sure what's going on with Haryana. Once again, I haven't really found any information on him, so if anyone could leave me information on him, it'd be really interesting to see what he's up to. I've heard a couple of information saying, oh, he could be coming back to Formula 1, but nothing really appeared. So let me know if there's any sort of update on that, because it'd be interesting to hear. But Haryana always seemed like a really nice guy. But yeah, the performances in Formula 1 and the time it took him to get good in GP2, I personally don't really feel he probably ever really warranted a Formula 1 drive. So the last person in today's video is going to be Lucas di Grassi. Now, he's one of the most successful drivers that sort of appeared in this F1 Reject series. He's an incredibly talented driver, but it didn't really go for him in Formula 1. So let's start right back at the beginning. In 2002, in his first car racing season in Formula Renault 2.0 Brazil, he finished 2nd place in that championship, winning 2 races and 6 podiums overall. He went on to race, I think, in the Formula 3 championship in Brazil, got 2nd in that the year after, then sort of came to England, raced a bit in the British Formula 3 championship, won a couple of races and finished 8th overall in that championship. Then sort of migrated up the ladder to the Formula 3 European Series and finished 3rd place in the Euro Series, which is pretty impressive. Won the Macau Grand Prix that year as well. And to 2006, he went to the GP2 Championship. He did all 20 races, only scored 8 points and 17th overall in the championship. The next year, he continued on in GP2 and finished 2nd place overall in the championship. And that was a really impressive year for him. I think was only beaten by Timo Glock there in the 2007 season. Timo Glock won the championship on 88 points. Di Grassi was on 77. So Di Grassi pretty impressive in the 2007 season. But no options in Formula 1 appeared for him, so he had to stay in GP2 for another season. He finished 3rd place in the championship that year, and he had 63 points and 3 wins. So you'd have thought 2 years, top 3 in the championship in GP2, surely Formula 1 teams were calling. And yes, he was a bit of a test driver now and again for Renault and Honda, but he never had the opportunity to stay on. So he actually did a 4th season of GP2 and once again finished 3rd, 1 win, 8 podiums, 63 points yet again. And finally, people saw him as a talented driver, and he finally had, I guess, what people would have finally said as the opportunity that he deserved to go into Formula 1 in 2010 when more seats opened up with the new team Virgin Racing. But, of course, like we know now, it just wasn't possible. In 2010, there was not any chance that Virgin car was going to be scoring points. It was so far behind, as was the Caterham, as was the HRT, and he was 24th overall in the standings. I think most notably crashed on a warm-up lap. That's sort of all I can remember from Lucas di Grassi's 2010 Virgin Racing season. In 2011, he was the Pirelli Formula 1 test driver, but never appeared in Formula 1 again. He went on to race in multiple championships with Audi. He did a little bit in 2012. He didn't really do too much in that year, actually. He sort of just a couple of one-off races. But into 2013, he sort of focused a little bit more racing for Audi in their third entry. And in 2013, he finished third place at Le Mans. And in 2014, they gave him a chance at a full season. He finished second place at Le Mans and fourth place overall in the championship. But in 2014, he sort of started his years in Formula E when the championship started up in the 2014-15 season. He finished third place overall in that, which showed really decent pace straight away, and obviously winning a race that season as well, and 5 other podiums, 6 in total, and 133 points going into the last race of the season, I think, or the last race of the season, with a chance of the championship, which obviously proved to be something that followed up in the future ones. So he continued on in 2015 with Audi, and 2016 as well with Audi. He had some pretty notable results there with them, but we'll focus on his Formula E career, because in 2015-16 he finished second place in the championship with 3 wins, and then finally in 2016-17 he won the championship with Audi, 2 wins, 7 podiums, 181 points, just beat the Formula 1 driver Sebastian Vettel, who actually missed a couple of rounds that season, but still, Lucas di Grassi did a great job that year, and I think a lot of people will say he deserved that championship, especially with the consistency throughout the year. And in the 2017/18 season, he had another good year. He finished second overall in the points, which is pretty surprising considering he had such a terrible start to the season. He had so much bad luck. In the first 4 races, Lucas di Grassi didn't score any points, but he came back to score a lot of podiums. He finished second 5 times and had 2 wins as well. He was, after the Punta del Este round, or the Punta del Este, I can't even say it right, Uruguay round onwards, he scored first or second in every single race. So a pretty notable season there from Lucas di Grassi. And without those early season mechanical issues, you'd have thought he would have been the champion. And he's been racing a little bit in Brazil with the stock cars, and also a little bit with the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship with the Mazda, but he's sort of really known now as the Audi guy in Formula E. Him and Daniel Abt are a really good team. I'm really interested to see what goes on with those going forward. And of course, Formula E is coming back soon, so I'll definitely say if you're a big fan of just motorsport and you're going to be a bit bored over the winter, as Formula 1 isn't going to be about, be sure to check out Formula E. It's coming soon. It's a fantastic championship. I'm really looking forward to bringing you guys some Formula E content, because they've actually sort of emailed me up, and yeah, we're going to be sort of doing a couple of things. So I'm really interested to see what we do with Formula E on this channel. I'm really excited to see what we do. And of course, if you want to stay up to date, check out the listings on YouTube and also on BBC Sport if you're in the UK. Be sure to watch Formula E. I mean, I'm just plugging it like crazy, but it deserves it. It's a great championship. So do that if you're looking for something to watch over the winter. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully enjoyed it. 4 people in this video. I've lost my mind at this point. I've been doing so much talking today, trying to do some videos. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Hopefully enjoyed. It's been Alex, and I'm out here. Goodbye.